So we'll continue with what we were discussing last time, and as always, we'll start with these vows, Bodhisattva vows. And if one of us could read these for all of us, whoever is here, um, that would be nice. So just to hear it again. So anyone who feels like unmuting and reading it out to all of us.
Yeah, I can read.
Yeah, go ahead.
May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles. And from the boundless multitudes of living beings, may I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and the sky, until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think I feel it's nice to read these again and again because we forget. We forget and we fall a prey to our patterns. So if we wish to behave in a different way and if we wish to have a different life, a life which is deeper and more fuller and richer, from time to time we have to just remind ourselves. So I think these few lines are a beautiful reminder to read them again. And it gives us a chance that we can be different than our old self each moment. So yeah, thank you for this, and we'll read all those verses also again and put them on screen. So these were the verses, training the mind. And I think we did listen to the teaching for the first verse, and then we were on the second one, not yet complete. So we'll continue with the second one, but it would be again nice to just like revisit them again, just for us to go through them. So we are at the moment 3 of us, so we can just distribute it. Okay. So one of us, whoever wants to unmute, please.
Yeah,
Read.
okay, may I?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, okay. Atisha's Lojong root verses on training the mind. The supreme understanding is to realize the meaning of selflessness. The supreme spiritual discipline is to tame one's own mind. The supreme great quality is altruism. The supreme oral instruction is to observe the mind at all times. The supreme remedy is to know that nothing has self-nature. The supreme conduct is to be in disharmony with the world. The supreme accomplishment is a continuous decrease of disturbing emotions. Yeah. That's it, or should I read further? Oh.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Taru, would you like to read these?
Yes. The supreme sign of accomplishment is a continuous decrease of wishes and wants. The supreme generosity is non-attachment. The supreme ethical conduct is to pacify one's mind. The supreme patience is to take the lowest place. The supreme effort is letting go of activity. The supreme concentration is not altering the mind.
Thank you. The supreme wisdom is to not grasp onto anything as the self. The supreme spiritual teacher is the one who exposes our hidden flaws. The supreme instruction is the one that helps us to strike at those flaws. The supreme companions are mindfulness and alertness. The supreme inspiration is enemies, hindrances, disease, and suffering. The supreme method is to be natural. The supreme way of benefiting is to help others enter the dharma. The supreme benefit is a mind that turns towards the dharma. So let us go about this one that we were listening. The supreme spiritual discipline is to tame one's own mind. So I'm going to play a bit of teaching from Jetsunma Tenzin palmo. Give me a second. Yeah. So there is a very nice talk on taming the mind, which is not specifically on this verse, but it's really beautiful. So I recommend this one. I think some of us may already have heard. This is really nice. So we'll go about, maybe take a bit and piece from here also, but for the moment, we just continue her teaching on exactly this verse on taming the mind. So we'll just listen to this.
We want to think up, it will go down. It's very hard for us to actually tame the mind so that it cooperates. So that it's like it's like a piece of hard clay which you have to work to make it soft, so that we can mold it into what we want it to be. And so therefore the first stage is to tame our mind. Then we can use our mind. Our mind becomes serviceable. Because otherwise, if the mind is not tamed, no matter what practices you do, it will always work against us. And it will be very, very difficult to accomplish anything. Once the mind is tamed, then to actually train it is relatively easy. Do you understand? So really this whole, here also with the meditation, you are doing that. You are trying to settle the mind on one point and keep the mind quiet so that the mind can merge with the object of its meditation. You're trying to tame the mind. All the discipline which you go through while you're here in the ashram is for taming. Not just taming the body, that's easy. Taming the mind. Giving some discipline and some container for our practice. That's why you get up at a certain time and you do satsang and yoga and so forth. It's all not just for taming the body, but taming the mind. But if you take yoga as an example, yoga is to make the body supple. It's to make the body and the energies of the body workable, serviceable. In the beginning, our joints are stiff, it's very difficult, but gradually, as we keep going, then slowly, slowly, the muscles relax, the muscles stretch, the muscles are able to do what we want them to do. And we can go into the asanas without, straining ourselves, without any problems. Slowly.
So I just wanted to share here, just like, I don't know if, I think it's very, very pretty clear, but how I relate with this is in aspect of training the mind, that just like with yoga in the beginning, it's hard for us to do a particular asana, also the difficult ones, it's very hard. But just a second. But as we kind of tame our body and train our body, it becomes easier to get into that particular asana wherever we want the body to get into in a fixed position. So just like that, in the beginning, the mind is just everywhere. The mind is just so much scattered. And when we begin to do this practice of taming the mind, like as we do with the breath, like bringing the mind to the breath and the rising and falling of the abdomen with the breath, in the body, every hour or every 2 hours, or throughout the day, uh, in the beginning the mind really scatters away again, but slowly as we do it, the mind gets used to it. So it's kind of a new habit that is that we are developing, which the mind may not be used to, because it's, for now, it's a monkey mind. It just jumps from here to there. So yeah, just wanted to add on.
Day by day, it gets easier. Well, if that is true for the body, it's even more true for the mind. It takes practice. Very, very few people in this world can just sit down and immediately go into a state of deep meditation. They all practice. We all know that for any other skill. If we want to be a musician, how many hours have you been practicing your instruments? Exactly. Thousands, thousands and thousands to become a master of your instrument. And so that's just dealing with your fingers. Imagine dealing with your mind. That is the most subtle instrument we have. Of course it's going to take time to tune it properly and to play it properly so that it makes a beautiful melody instead of just harsh noises. Isn't it? So really, really make the most of your time here. Don't get caught up in just habitual patterns. Leave those worldly patterns and start here to develop new, more wholesome patterns. Otherwise, if you just carry on the way you've always do when you're back home, with just little breaks for doing some asanas, but the rest of the time, mind thinking the same way, chattering and gossiping with your friends, what's the point? You've lost a great opportunity.
So just taking a pause here. Anything anyone wants to share here? I think it really becomes, I feel that life can really become like, first of all, a continuing practice, because you can, mind, is everywhere. Wherever we are, we may not have a bike or car or book or anything, but the mind is always with us. So this practice can be done anywhere, where you are, whether you are waiting for somebody, whether you are just sitting down by yourself, having nothing to do. I think it's a beautiful opportunity to keep the mind with the breath. And also, breath is not the focus. We have to slowly realize that breath is just a support for the mind to anchor itself. Ultimately, we need to come to the awareness that looks to the breath. So we have to stabilize and take a stance as that awareness. Who am I? I am this awareness that looks at the thoughts. I am this awareness that is aware of the feelings. And the moment we take a stance as awareness and stabilize ourselves, we really feel very liberated. That as if the burdens and burdens have been shed off our shoulders. Many burdens even of the past, which we may not be aware of. So this practice, first of all, we can do anywhere since the mind is with us all the time. And the other thing is also makes life very interesting when we are observing our own minds, what state they are in, what kind of thoughts are going on, what are the habituated patterns where the mind kind of loops back again and again. So it really makes life very interesting. One never gets bored, for example. So there is something else I wanted to share from this one. Again on the um, just a second. I'll take a moment. Yeah. So this one, as I was sharing, it's a very interesting one, which people who are interested must watch, maybe again and again. So this one, we are going to take a few excerpts from this because it's exactly about taming the monkey mind.
All genuine meditation is based on cultivating a quality of mind which is called awareness. It also can be called mindfulness, attention, consciousness. It's that ability of the mind. The first step is the ability of the mind to observe without comment. This is a very, very important quality in Buddhism. The ability to be aware, to know, without having to evaluate or judge, just knowing.
So I think this is also very relevant in how we deal or interact with people. So when I am looking at my thoughts and in the process of observation, I am actually critically being judgmental of good thought, bad thought, stupid thought, dirty thought, whatever. And we are all the time judging ourselves in several ways. And if I now develop or inculcate this quality of looking at myself, my bodily sensations or thoughts or feelings, whatever goes on, just observing without, as she said, commenting. I think this also makes a difference with how I interact with the world. Because whenever we meet people, whenever we look at people, for example, we are in a market and we are looking at people, you will see that there is background commentary going on. Many a times we are not even aware of that commentary. Like you look at a person and you already get a kind of an image of a person in your head that he must be or she must be like that. Most of the times we are not aware of this. And it's not very well formed. It's like very diffuse. This commentary is very diffuse. but as if it's like a background noise which is there. And we are always judging without even knowing that we are judging. So the more I develop this quality of looking at my own self without commentary, just observation, I think then I also develop a parallel quality by a kind of a side effect of it, that when I deal with people and interact with the world, there is no excessive commentary going on in the head. It's like very simple. A cup broke, okay, cleaned and everything done. There is no story associated with the cup. Who broke it and where was it coming from? And maybe somebody wanted to take revenge. That's why your favorite cup was broken. All that goes on in our head. So much burden is let go of if we just look at the things as they are, the fact of it, for example, and then move on without commentary. Keep things very, very simple and light. Really works wonders. And also, it doesn't drain our energy that much. Usually, we drain so much of energy in regurgitations and ruminations. Yes, Taru?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very, very important point, because not even like we don't even call it judgment, right? Like related to ourselves or others. We just, that has actually become the norm, right? Like having these images, just, I feel the black pearl here is this thing that I want to tell myself is, I know, having been proven, with slaps on my face time and again, that I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And yet something very clever is sitting inside that keeps on repeating that I know. The bird, I know. The how the world works, I know. Commercialization, I know. Like male people, this is what they do, I know. Girls, kind of like, it's just crazy how badly I want to stick to this I know, and how freeing it would be. I have, like, I think touched upon it in occasionally in separate things, and I have made efforts when I've questioned that, kya pata hai? What is it that you know? And then it stops and says, actually, I don't know. So this need to give away this I know, how, that beautiful prayer that God take my intelligence and give me wisdom, right? That request, that leading, that sounds so beautiful. And when you were, sharing about the judgments or just knowing, I somehow I could, I don't know if you know, there was this movie of Sri Devi and Anil Kapoor, I think, made by her then not husband but Boni Kapoor. Jisme they are kind of, the guy always tells the girl a story and she says, "हाँ अच्छा हुआ, अच्छा बुरा हुआ, अच्छा," मतलब जैसे that he says कि okay, a guy climbed there and she's like, that's good. And then he would say something else, like he would pass that thing on each and every sentence that he would say. So suddenly today when you were sharing, how we do it, that time it sounded sweet. When you see a hero heroine having that dialogue, it sounded sweet. But this need for the mind to always categorize, right? Although it's not something new, that it's not that we don't know, but I wonder if we know just how, I don't know what it's doing to us. Now, just in like absolute honesty, to just acknowledge what it's doing to us, I would say would be the first step to see if, and I think everything starts with you. So you, like, I'll just say that again, that how you said it, once it starts stop, kind of slowing down for us, the need for making statements, passing comments, judgments, or just images, just I know these two words, it would be beautiful for I don't know and I don't maybe want to know, right? Like I can face it fresh. Like sometimes I see myself that if I have to meet somebody, say a difficult person, or if I'm going to a situation which I'm not very comfortable with, I would plan it in my head, right? So I have to make an effort now to stop. It's not rocket science. And even if it was, you would be prepared for it then. So just relax. You will know what to say. Because sometimes this preparation is very redundant and very unnecessary most of the time. Like you would know what to say then. I don't know why this wanting to, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I think one thing which I find really amazing is that uh, in our education system, I wonder about it again and again that why I was not told, I was told so many things. I was told biology, chemistry, physics, all the difficult subjects that I maybe at times didn't want to read. But I really wonder that why were we not educated that this is also something, in fact, the most important thing of which we have to be observant of, that what's happening in here. And as you were sharing that, um, the more we observe the mind, that we can actually become conscious of these patterns ruling. And half of the life is already gone, and the pattern have ruled our life all this way along. It's a different thing, but thankfully that at least now I can look at my thought patterns whenever they arise, and I can step back, that I choose not to follow the dictate of you because I have done that enough. So I think this becoming conscious of your thoughts, becoming conscious of what's happening in your mind, I wonder why it was not a part of education, such an important part, because it's the mind through which you are learning actually. So you want to share the?
Yeah, I just wanted to say you're talking about then right now, but it's like these days those online classes are going on. So in those classes, I once I had a parent teacher thing online again, and the DD said that my child, he just answers when he's asked to answer. He doesn't keep wanting to answer. So I said, yes, he is very mindful of, not being unmute unnecessarily. And I see what a havoc it creates, even when 2 to 3 kids, are unmuted because it's an online class. Do you really think that you can handle 28 kids on unmute wanting to show initiative? So she was like, not really. So it's like we don't even see what we are asking, right? Like he only answers when he's asked to answer. So that was like a thing that he needs to work on, according to her. And so just wanted to say that it's not them, it's just us that we have issues of course. Okay.
Yeah. So let's continue and see what's coming up.
And because this is such an important quality for us to learn how to cultivate, how to develop, this is the way to tame the monkey and then to train it. In Buddhism, we usually start in all Buddhist schools with the breath. Now, many of you here, I'm sure, know the meditation on the breath as it is taught in various Buddhist schools. But the point, the reason why the breath is useful, first of all, is because we are always breathing. And normally, when we are breathing, we are not aware that we are breathing. It's one of those automatic functions of the body which we don't give any thought to, we just breathe.
But we can know the breath if we want to. So if I ask you all to stop breathing, we can all hold our breath, right? We can't stop the heart beating. We can't stop the liver functions or the stomach from digesting food. But we can stop our breath for a limited amount of time if asked to do so. So there is a connection between our consciousness and the breathing. At the same time, we cannot breathe in the past or in the future. We only breathe now. So if our awareness knows the breath as it goes in and it goes out, then at that moment we are present. Now, it's very hard for our egoic mind, the mind ruled by this small self, to stay present. If we get to understand our mind, we recognize how much our mind is caught up in the past, in memories, comparisons, and just thinking back to what's happened before, 50 years before, 20 years before, yesterday, 5 minutes ago.
So this reminds me that somebody was asking again, Jetsunma Tenzin Palmo, that why is it so hard to stay? Why does the mind scatter away? Like when you bring it back to the breath, why does it wander again? And I think, if I'm not wrong, and also in our own experience, the observation is that the ego is absent when we are in the moment fully, without any story in the head, because ego feeds on the stories, as she was sharing, on the stories of the past, future, present happenings, commentaries on all of that. So ego feeds, ego is full of stories. This is me, and that is the other person, and we are nothing. There is no ego without the story. So when I'm very simply in the present moment, then there is no story. Whatever is happening, just like as a matter of fact. And there, the limited mind, which is the egoic mind, it feels very jittery, it feels very insecure, as if what would happen to it, that as if there is a threat to the existence of the ego. And because we think that we are egos, we think that ego self is our true self, and we are not even aware actually of the ego self. We just think that whatever I think about me is me. So when that is threatened, when the stories are threatened, when all my opinions, ideas that I hold about the world and about myself and the people, when all of that is threatened, when there is no story in the present moment, there is a jitteriness and insecurity that comes up. And that's why it very quickly we go back to the stories again. So we all have glimpses where we have lived those moments which are very pure, very pristine, fresh, alive. But then the stories come up again. And slowly we have to really, becoming more and more conscious, I feel that we have to make a decision that now it's enough of a life lived by ego, and the moment you see it rising up again, you step back from following the dictates. So that's why I think it's difficult for the mind to stay in the present moment, because in the present moment mind expands back into its original state, which is the state of awareness, the true nature of the mind, the source from which it is arising. The swabhava of the mind is awareness or consciousness. So when it goes back in the present moment to complete awareness of whatever is happening, seeing the reality as it is without stories, then the limited mind dissolves, the egoic mind dissolves, and it falls back into the expanse of awareness. And for an egoic mind, it's very, very threatening. So it jumps back again. And that is why, Taru, you were sharing about effort. I think that's why, because we are habituated to live as the ego self, as the separate individual private self which we need to protect. Because we are habituated to live like that, that is why I have to make effort whenever I become conscious of anything limiting arising in me, anything full of disturbing, emotions arising in me, jealousy, ripples of, stories of the past, future, all that anxiety. Whenever these disturbing things arise, the old patterns arise, and if I can become conscious of them, and if I can look at them and say that really you have done me uh, a great job so far, but now I don't need you, so thank you. Because ego, according to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, also ego has a purpose in human evolution. It's not just there for no reason. But once its purpose is served, once it has given us this temporary individuality, and if we are mature enough to move towards our true individuality, which is the psychic individuality, as Mother and Sri Aurobindo say, and whenever we get in touch with our true nature, the nature of compassion, love, intelligence, clarity, kindness, simplicity, good heart, this is our true nature, then there is no need for the ego self to exist. So we can, bid it a goodbye very easily. But we would not be able to bid goodbye because that easily, because moment to moment and a vigilance is required. As Kabir ji says, that as long as you have breath in the body, so long we need to be vigilant. Because till the body remains, the egoic self can prop up any time. Bodily ego, then mental ego, the emotional ego. So effort needs to be put to become conscious of the ripples, and then to step back, as if we have suffered enough, then step back from the ego self.
All caught up in the future with our plans, our fantasies, our dreams, our ideas of what will happen next, our fears of what will happen next. But the one place that the mind has a really hard time to stay is now. To stay in the present is very hard for the mind. We don't recognize how difficult it is to actually be present with what is happening right here, right now, without commenting, without discussing it in our heads. So, therefore, this very simple meditation on the breath is a very skillful way to bring the mind into the present, and at the same time to develop this important quality of awareness. Awareness means knowing. Normally, we don't know what's going on because we are too busy talking to ourselves. We are chattering away to ourselves the whole time, and we miss what is actually happening. For example, we are all sitting here, but how many of us are aware that we are sitting, experiencing the feel of sitting, unless we are uncomfortable? Normally, once we are sitting, then our mind's gone off in all directions, but it's not where we are. So it's very important to develop the ability to be present, to be centered. So we learn how to observe, how to witness And first, we observe the breath. So we're just going to sit for 5 minutes and do this. It's very simple. The most important thing is that you keep your feet on the ground if you can. If your feet are too small, then never mind. If you're at home, then you can put a cushion under your feet. And keep the back straight, but not tense. The hands can either be here or on our knees, resting gently. Just keep the neck feeling slightly down, but not feeling relaxed. The most important thing, two important things. First, to be focused and to be relaxed. Don't make the mind tight. Keep the mind very, isn't it wonderful? You have nothing to do except sit, breathe, and know that one is breathing. That's it. Nothing. Right? So please just breathe normally. The attention should especially be on the out breath, and then a slight pause, and then the in breath. Just naturally coming in, and then again the out breath. Just knowing it. That's all. And if after a short time you get bored and the mind gets carried away with thinking again, just notice, bring it back to the breath. What we are trying to do, the breath is not the really important thing. So maybe only 30% of our attention is to the breath, and the majority of the attention is to the fact of being aware. Be aware of being aware. Do you understand? Because this is a practice in learning how to develop this quality of being mindful, of being conscious and aware. So that is what we are interested in. It's the awareness rather than just the breath. The breath is like a support for our awareness. Okay? So this is a very important, it's a very simple practice, but it is the very first step in learning how to tame our monkey mind. First step to taming the monkey mind is to allow the mind to become more quiet, more calm, and to watch the monkey by looking at this point at the breath as it goes in and especially as it goes out. Any sounds we hear, just ignore them, they're just sounds. So we will just.
So is it okay if we do this for 5 minutes along with her? Should we do that?
Yes, lovely. Yes.
Yeah? Yeah, okay. So we'll just be aware of being aware, and as she was sharing that if thoughts come, we can just label them as thinking and ignore them completely. Thinking, sounds, and just ignore and keep our focus with the breath. So let's do this. Just a second.
Just sit for 5 minutes and observe the breath. It comes in, it goes out. It comes in and it goes out. And we know it. That's all there is to do. So this basic
So I think you can take up any last reflections or comments if there are any. I think for me it comes again and again the importance of having suffered through my opinions, having suffered through my stories in the head, having suffered through the interpretations of my mind about things that I see and perceive through the senses. Because if I have not suffered enough, then somehow I'm not convinced that okay, it's good for me to rest the mind with the breath. But if I have suffered enough, then somehow I'm pretty convinced that I'm not going to buy again into the stories of my head, because they really are a big trap. So again, for me, it comes back again and again, because there arises this conviction in you uh, to bring the mind to the present moment with the breath in the body, and to stay as awareness, rooted as awareness. And I feel that this conviction has the possibility to come definitely through suffering. There must be other things also, but definitely if I have suffered enough through my own ideas, my own thoughts, stories and perceptions in the head, then I will be convinced and motivated that uh, it's high time that I now rest the mind in the present moment. And it doesn't take much time to for the life to become simpler again and lighter again once we have suffered enough. And it was also being shared yesterday. I was reading something, and it was also being shared that uh, our thoughts and ideas are actually a dream. So as if we are dreaming all the time, imagine. And we consider this dream a reality. For me, my opinions, my ideas, my stories are so real, they are so real that 98%, 99% of the time I'm just immersed in them. And it's a dream. It's a dream because I don't know the nature of the mind. I don't know who I truly am. So I'm living as if a borrowed life. The life I am living is a life of this illusory separate self called the ego self. It's not my life, and I make it so serious and so real that I just completely waste a lifetime in it, thinking that it's my life. And they were saying that when we realize the nature of the mind, when we take a stance as awareness and then stabilize it over practice and years of sadhana, then we wake up from this dream. Otherwise, all of us are dreaming. And the very funny and ironical thing is that our dreams are always in clash with each other's dream. So that's why where we call about ego clashes. So another one may be having a different story in the head, I have a different story, and they're always at kind of war with each other most of the times. So we can utilize the opportunity that this particular human birth gives us to wake up to our true self and not waste time in dreaming, and also considering our dreams as real. I think that's what we do, that we stand in the side of our dreams and we make them, fuel them, make them more and more real. That no, this is true, this is what I felt hurt, and all the things that goes on. So if we are convinced, and if we can stop fueling, then I can now bring the mind to rest and to its true nature, and a new life can begin. Every moment a new life can begin. Okay, so I think we'll the verse 2, the second verse, we'll stop here, and next time we'll take the third one up. So anything more, anyone? Okay, so thank you and have a good night or day wherever you are. Thank you for joining and happy
Thank you so much.
practice.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for the teaching.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.